the swimming pool scene at the end of series 1. But you know, especially if you add the resolution to it in series 2, I think that was just huge fun. I don't have to wait a year and a half for ages.
I like the bed scene, only because I know how we shot it. It was an actual bed on a pivot thing we saw there, and we had a bed in a field, as you do.
I just got to hold this like an old-fashioned. Barry Manilow. Sorry, boys, you're on the microphone. I got to hold it reasonably. Anyway, the point is this. We did it in a field. It was extraordinary, and there were gnats biting our heads, and we had so little time to do it, and it worked the first time, and it got a round of applause from the crew. So we rushed back to have a look at that, and it's a bit of magic dreamt up by Paul McGuigan.
Yeah, we were in the middle of Wales with a bed.
Yeah, he's very much missing him.
Paul McGuigan is the director.
Yeah, and really the inventor of a lot of the visual vernacular that Steven possibly even defined. This is something new, and I'm so tired of me talking all day, I'm so sorry, I'm not making any sense. What I'm trying to say is stuff like the text floating on the screen, that was his idea. The rich tapestry of colour and wallpaper, and the way he places objects within the frame, and the cutting, the editing. Him and Charlie dreamt up these brilliant ideas, such as in the first series, these wipes and swipes you had where one scene would just come across another rather than fading out and cutting to another scene, that two different places at the same time would bleed into the same screen. We owe him an awful lot, and yeah, it's a shame he's not here. You would love the reaction he gave it.
Now, apparently we have 2 mics, so if I knew where they were, I would... Okay.
How did you do that? Okay, this question is for Steven and Benedict. Steven, if you could have tea with any of the characters you've written for, and Benedict, if you could have tea with any of the characters you've acted as, who would you have tea with?
No.
I've had tea with Stephen Moffat.
Irene Adler. Certified tea, darling.
I'd like to have tea with Sherlock. I think it'd be great. I think he'd dismiss me in a heartbeat, though. He's far too impatient, far too clever. I wouldn't last a second, but it would be fun to be in his presence. Gosh, who else?
Mark Reed!
I don't play Martin. I've also, fortunately, got a friendship that's strong enough to just about have a cup of tea. Not really on set. Gosh, who else? I don't know, you choose. Who do you think I should? He's not a character I play.
Are you getting this?
I'm sorry, right. God, no. He'd spill it on himself, and then I'd have to clean it up. Walk into a door, I'd have to phone an ambulance. He'd end up hijacking the ambulance by accident, thinking it was his taxi home that he was with. I don't know, he'd have
Okay. And Stephen, are you still back with our new number?
Apparently so.
I think I probably would actually, but I could play off just to see how long you could last. I'd say so-called make a deduction, Sherlock. Yeah.
Okay, back up here.
And be sure to wait for the microphone to ask for your questions for the people who are watching on Facebook.
Hello. Sorry. Hello. I have a question for both Benedict and Steven. Do you find it intimidating at all to kind of have your own version of Sherlock Holmes, as there's so many, I mean, Arthur Conan Doyle's version, of course, is the classic, and it's got to be intimidating for you, Steven, to write your modern day version. And for you, Benedict, is it intimidating because there's so many actors that have and will play Sherlock in the future?
No.
opportunity to go around feeling intimidated. No, you get it. And you know, if he made a complete mess of it, at least there'd been loads of other versions of Sherlock. There's like spares. It's not. It's just the best fun. So you can't do good.
It's a treat and a privilege to be asked to play that character. So you know, you can't be intimidated by it. You just got to grab the right ones and have fun.
You should have seen this before the first episode went out.
Terrifying.
Expose the lie of that in our hearts. Oh, we sounded so confident now.
Okay, who has the mic? Let's do it that way. Yes.
Hello, I'm Aubrey from Sherlock NYC. I just wanted to thank you so much, Mr. Cumberbatch, Mr. Moffat, Miss Virtue for coming out here. We are a group in New York City that's a bunch of Sherlock Holmes fans. We actually recently had a screening in January for the Series 1, and we had a study in Sherlock studying a study in Pink and a study in Scarlet. So I just wanted to thank you so much for all the hard work that you've done bringing us this show. I've been able to meet hundreds of new friends, been able to read some wonderful literature, and to my question. My question is, if someone were to hand you a blank check, and you're suddenly given blank check, you can do whatever project you want and whatever role you'd like to have in it, producing, directing, starring, whichever we have time for. Can I ask what that project would be and why?
If it was a blank check, I'd do more than one. But it'd be tired. Yeah. It'd be nice to do a film with Sherlock Holmes, wouldn't it? But there's a very good book called Cavalier and Clay. To this Stephen? That's not another talk to him about writing. That would be intimidating. No, I haven't.
And Stephen, and your blank check?
Oh, my blank check? Oh, this is a tragedy. If I were given the blank check, I would, of course, and you know the answer, be doing Sherlock Holmes and Doctor Who. No way blank.
So, Sue, has anybody talked about the television series, the American television series? What's the state of that? Just to clarify, Sue was misquoted a little while ago as saying she was consulting on it, or was it broadcast?
Oh, I mean, yes, my next string to my bow, I think it said, wasn't it? I was consulting on elementary. No, we've heard nothing more about it. I know they made the pilot. It's nothing to do with us at all.
Nothing?
No.
And we don't necessarily wish it the best, right?
Johnny's a friend. As we already know, with the Dan and Gina movie franchise, there's one for 2, so we'll have 3.
It's a good friend.
I don't think it's going to take away the love for arts, and there's no reason to challenge the history of that.
He refers to Johnny Lee Miller, of course, was also in France.
I didn't know that. It's hard to say, but
Okay.
I'm a private investigator here in New York. I was wondering, since you were... it's an advantage not to look like one, believe it or not. But I was wondering, since you were bringing Sherlock into the modern times, if you ever had to, consult anybody who is in fact a private or consulting detective in the, because there's tons of them. UK is the #1 country for private detectives.
we know we've got the media.
Yeah, I mean, really, yeah. So I'm just wondering if any of you did any research or followed anybody around who is actually a private investigator.
Can you follow a private?
Actually, I developed
That's a high investigator to investigate and investigate. Privately. No, that's a sensible question. No, I haven't, and I probably should, and I'd love to. But he is exceptional and extraordinary, and sort of probably beyond the pale of any working methods you employ. So therefore, I don't know how much I'll be able to feed any kind of logical deductions about people working methods into the way we operate. I'm sure
we did talk to the police in the first series a bit about procedures and things like that, but sometimes actually, even if you take the proper procedures, Sherlock won't necessarily follow them. Really, I don't.
Exactly. So splitting everything. Facebook got that. No, you're right. He's above the operational police. So it's fascinating to talk to them about, and you know, despite the ill rap that the police get through Sherlock's impatience with them, it's a much more serious about the police than I police. We just had a private conversation.
Hi, my name is Chris Kelly. I'm from Charlottesville, Virginia. I drove up here for this event. I wanted to ask, well, first of all, congratulate you on your recent Olivier Award win. To ask you, do you have current plans to return to the theater? Is that a passion for you, or are you going to stick to TV and movies with your schedule?
I haven't left the theatre. I will always do theatre in my life. I like to mix it up. I'm really genuinely hoping to bring Frankenstein here. Danny, I know, has already been talking. That's encouraging. I love theatre, it's where it began, and while I owe it an awful lot, I also have incredible breaks in both the other mediums, so it's a modern world for actors where you can start, almost it seems at any level in any medium, so the usual trajectory of classical roles into small parts in television, a little bit of that I've done, I still feel equally loyal to all of them, so I'll never give up on theatre.
Great, thank you so much.
I guess to go with that question, I had a question for Benedict about Frankenstein, and if you wouldn't mind talking a little bit about the process or comparing the work that you did to prep for Frankenstein versus what you did for Sherlock. I know some people are very touchy about talking about their craft, but if you could say anything about it.
I'm not touchy about talking about my craft. Very, 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 very different creatures, but I mean, there are crossovers, of course, because it's about a man who wants. They're both about men who have godly emotions, who think that they can cheat death or be better than the living, and there is a huge parity between Dr. Frankenstein and Sherlock, which I was very aware of, which is one of the main reasons I would only do the project where I allowed to play both sides of that coin and play the creature as well. There was a bit of the creature in that episode as well. I'd say a bit of the creature in Sherlock, because when he's drugged and he's getting out of bed, I think my physicality fell a little bit into what something I did, I was scrambling about the floor. At the beginning of the evening at the theatre, it was Frankenstein, but
you went to the gym more for Frankenstein?
I went to the gym a bit more, yeah, no, actually, for Frankenstein, no, not really, no, I did it's very important, yoga and for Sherlock, and then I did a bit more sort of press-ups and stuff for Frankenstein, and endurance races. Yeah, you're laughing
It was the end of the last one when you were trying to fatten up a bit for Fraser.
Yeah.
During Sherlock.
During Sherlock, yeah, going to the donuts. The preparation is very different, obviously, because you're working in very intense, concentrated bursts on Sherlock, but at the same time you're carrying a series for the duration of the shoot. So there is an idea of it being a marathon, but you're not. Obviously, this is so obvious. You're not playing out the whole character, right? Whereas every night with Frankenstein was. So really, it was a 10-hour day. Not that I complain. That's probably what most normal people do. Although then again, they get 1,100 people throw themselves off 6.
Stop promoting the
Sorry.
show.
And so it was very paramount to kind of keep myself fit and healthy, as it is with both. Just not get ill, to be able to do it. And I failed a couple of times with Frankenstein, so I could do better there. I promise to if we do it here. But I think, yeah, it's remarkable how theatrical you can be allowed to be on screen, especially with a gorgeous, colourful, broad character, as Sherlock can be at times. And again, you can do intense focus work and sort of close-up work on stage, no matter how epic the production. So they do have a crossover, not just in types of characters, because I try to avoid that, but also in scale of performance. That's a difficult question. I went to a dissection, actually. I went to not a dissection, a Woopsiepoopsie for Frankenstein, which I probably should have done for Sherlock, because it was an award in Sherlock before I got on stage as the Doctor. Yeah, that was very interesting for both projects, really. To be at ease with a lifeless body, to marvel at the wonder of nature and not be upset by the kind of gruel of it. And it was a very humbling experience. It was extraordinary, and I recommend it.
here. I am standing up. As a native Bostonian, I want to thank you first of all, Rebecca, for all you've done for GBH and for Boston. But this is but this is actually for all of you. But first of all, for Benedict, at what point in your life were you first exposed to Sherlock Holmes's novels, and how did that affect your character? But then for all of you, what is, in terms of like the extent to which you collaborate on how far one actor can go with his or her role, and the collaboration, the push and pull in terms of the whole process?
To be honest, it was Jeremy Brett's interpretation. That's the first sort of conscious memory I have of Sherlock Holmes, and what a wonderful Sherlock Holmes he was. Really masterful, and Rathbone as well. And I probably read them when I was 12 to 14, sometime around that. Weirdly enough, I'd read The Hobbit. I had The Hobbit read to me before that, but anyway, that was probably the beginning of my interest in the literature. And then I didn't obsess over it. I wasn't a massive fanboy of it. I came to it very much through being asked to consider the idea of doing more than Sherlock Holmes, and then I just, as I had, read them. So I can't remember the second part of your question.
At what point do all of you collaborate?
Oh, every day on set. I mean, there's a brilliant. We have read-throughs, and obviously we had a first series which Stephen saw our strengths in, and I think both him and Mark and the other Stephen, as he keeps referred to by me, wrote. We should credit Steve Thompson who wrote. I think all right to our strengths, and you saw a relationship burgeoning between, just a friendship really between myself and Una. He didn't know that we'd know. Una's known me since I was a baby. She had her sons around about a bit before, but knew my mother when she was pregnant with me, and so it's known all my life. So there was a sort of something for nothing intimacy that we had through that history, and he just saw how well we got on, on the other side of the set. And I think that was part of what amped up the relationship between Holmes and Mrs. Hudson in the series. Isn't that right? I'm boring him. It's like Sherlock, I tell you. It's a very collaborative group of actors, so it's very easy to have a push and pull, if you like.
But even with the director and...
Of course, and a lot's dictated by time and the foresight of his shot, what am I trying to say? The storyboarding, his shot list. When he's on, and weather and all the other things that dictate all the vagaries of filming. So within those constraints, yes, of